everybody, and welcome back to the Modern Maze. It's been a while, so thank you for joining us today. I hope everyone is doing well. Sending love from Melbourne. So I've just landed back in home, and I'm very excited to have this conversation with my dear brother and dear friend, Nico. Just a quick summary or explanation of how we met. When I was living in Sri Lanka for 5 months earlier this year, as fate would have it, Nico and my paths crossed each other, and I think he would agree that it was a very magnetic first interaction. And from there, a brotherhood blossomed, and we watered it. We tended to the garden of our friendship. We grew together, learned, laughed, cried, danced, had such a magical time. And Nico is a very inspirational person for me, and his journey and what he shares with the world today is very powerful, having experienced it firsthand. And I wanted to bring him onto this podcast with the intention of sharing his message, his journey, tips and techniques, and any other knowledge that he can impart along us. So, Nico, thank you for joining the Modern Maze. How are you doing today, Hermano?
Thank you, brother. Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you for those words as well. I feel, this is one more chapter for us to share one more layer of what we are as friends. And I'm very happy to be here, bro. Very motivated to share with people the things that I went through to see if it's of help to some of them out there.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Hermano. Thank you. Just quickly, if you could describe to the people where it is you're in the world, what is it you're working on, and what you're sharing, and then we can dive into your journey a little bit more.
Yes, for sure. So I'm from Argentina. I was born and raised in Argentina. I have some roots in Europe, and now I'm actually traveling in Sri Lanka. I've been doing Asia for the last year, traveling around and learning new skills, incorporating new tools so I can share from my experience the things that I was going through. And yes, basically, I'm planning to face the season here in Sri Lanka because it's a very beautiful place to spread some seeds in people's minds, and then they will spread those seeds wherever they go. So this is a very good place for me to be at the moment.
Beautiful. Yes, I love that analogy. I feel like places like Sri Lanka, as we experienced, is you get souls from all over the world converging into one tiny little town for a day, 2 days. Within a day, they can leave, and spreading those seeds and then allowing it to pollinate the rest of the world is such a beautiful analogy that I resonate with. So thank you for that description of where you're at today. I would like to take it back to how you got here. How is it that you got to breathwork and everything else that you're beginning to share on your path as you continue to evolve? What was the moment for you where you realized that something needed to change, or what was that moment when this awareness and these tools found you?
Okay, I could mention two different moments in time. One of them is basically when I started with breathwork, that was hand to hand with meditation. So I started being curious about meditation. I had this inner call that something there was just attracting me, and I dig into meditation. I found some things that were very interesting to me. And hand to hand, as soon as you start finding your way in these words, then breathwork comes along. So I started using some tools as well, pranayamas mainly from the yogic philosophy. Those are very short techniques that you can use throughout the day to regulate your nervous system. And they were very helpful at that time. I could recognize the power behind them, and I had them as tools for a few years. And I started investigating a little bit more into different techniques, more in depth, I would say, like 1 hour breathing techniques that will allow me to find complete stillness in my body and my mind, like feel this sense of void inside of our heads. that is beautiful to be there. It's just unplugging ourselves from reality, stopping the thoughts for a while and just being there in silence. And those experiences were very transcendental for me. Like you can transcend body and mind, and they were beautiful to experience. But mainly, I will describe this other moment in time when I was struggling with my partner 2 years ago. I was struggling very, very hard. Like I had deep realizations about who I was and what I was doing there. And actually, this thick veil came off, and I started recognizing these patterns of narcissism that we're going to start talking a little bit more further along the way in this podcast. In that moment, basically what happened was that I connected with another technique that is called conscious connected breathing. Conscious connected breathing is a particular technique that you breathe in and out with no pause in between inhalation and exhalation. And in this technique, what happens is that you access deeper layers of the brain where you store trauma. So as soon as I did this technique in the first session, I experienced something that for me was really, really amazing. I had the opportunity to feel how different baggage that I was carrying left my back, left my shoulders, and I could walk out that room feeling very light compared to before I was there, right? So it was a beautiful feeling for me, very potent experience. And then I could actually recognize how powerful is this tool of the breath. And I took it a little bit more serious. I went into taking some courses to teach this technique, and I actually started paying more and more attention into it. And I shaped my life to that direction, to face that direction, because basically what I recognized also when this veil came off was that I was building this identity in my life to please other people, but I was not taking care of myself at the end, right? So then this was part of it, right? Reconnecting with breathwork and meditation and those tools and start teaching them is part of giving to myself the things that I really want. And I stop fulfilling other people's desires so I can proceed with my own path. Yes.
Beautiful, brother. Thank you for sharing. I have a question that I just popped in my head as you were explaining your tendencies and patterns that you're associating with narcissism. I think sometimes for me, when I think of narcissism, before we shared a lot around this, I think the narrative with narcissism can be that the patterns are only about you focusing on yourself, whereas the things that you're sharing about your patterns of narcissism have to do with others. And so I'm wondering if you can maybe speak to this idea, because I'm sure perhaps you've come across this, that narcissism, how I imagined it, was that it's only about you. That's the pattern of narcissism. But when you're sharing, you're talking about patterns as it does with the external world and other people.
Yes. So a narcissist, by definition, is someone that is excessively self-centered and lack some empathy towards others. So it is basically connecting you with others in that sense, that it's the environment around that at one point in your life was a threat for you that made you install these patterns, these behaviors in your life, right? So then now you are behaving in that way because in your subconscious mind, you have all this trauma, all these feelings, these emotions that are not fully processed. And yes, that's why you ended up behaving in that way. Maybe because at the age of 2 or 3 years old, when you started developing your personality, you didn't recognize love from your parents, or they didn't really pay attention to you or things like that. So then you thought, okay, now I'm suffering. Now I'm having this fear of being rejected. And if you are rejected, then the main fear of all came to your mind. That is the fear of death, right? So then this is subconsciously happening when you are very, very young. And then for you to receive your mom's love, then you ended up doing everything that she wants in that moment from the age 3 till 7, 8, and you don't learn how to love yourself actually. So then when that happens, is that basically you start building up this image of another character that will fulfill your mom's needs. And then in that way, you won't be rejected and you won't have this fear of death, right? So what happens when you start recognizing all these patterns, you realize this relationship that you had with your mom at that moment now is being spread into your entire community. So now you fulfill your friends' desires, you fulfill, even people that you are trying to grab their attention, right? So you need to be accepted and you need to be loved by them, and you think you're gonna be loved by them by acting in certain way, but by being this character that you are now feeding, right? And that's how we disconnect from our real self. And yeah, healing from narcissism is just basically realizing that you are behaving that way just to please other people. Stop doing that and reconstruct yourself to something that will serve you better, right? Because basically what happens is that you have a very, very low self-esteem and you barely notice that because that's really, really buried in your subconscious mind. What you can see is this identity that you created. So then when you recognize that, you recognize why you're feeling so disconnected from society, because you are in fear, completely in fear the entire time. So then it's a matter of start, in this sense, being selfish in the right way, because that selfishness is fulfilling your real self, right? So then you can allow yourself to start saying no to certain things that are not good for you, are good for your friends maybe, that you think are good for your friends, because this is a story that we say to ourselves in our minds. But sometimes it's not even the reality, right? So then I'll give you an example. I was sharing with my partner 2 years ago, and then there was this opportunity to go on a trip with some friends. And then we had the money to go for the trip, but I knew like something inside of me was telling me that was not the right time to do it, right? I wanted to keep on growing with the same things that I was doing. I wanted to keep on saving money to accomplish different goals. But just to please her and my friends, I decided to do it. I decided to go on this trip. And probably if I wouldn't have gone, nothing would have happened, right? Life would have proceeded the same way and everything would have been okay. But I thought, okay, maybe if I go, this is something that was in my subconscious mind, right? If I go, I will be accepted by the group, and this is the pattern just repeating itself, right? Then when I came back from that trip, I felt drained basically because I didn't respect it myself. I was just pleasing other people. And it's okay if you do it maybe once in a while, it's fine just to postpone yourself to please other people in the right and healthy way. But if you constantly do exactly the same thing, then you're harming yourself a lot. And that's how, in the myth, the Narcissus ends up dying, right? Because he's just observing and giving so much attention to this identity that is not actually himself. And then he forgets about his real self, right? And that's how and why he died.
Interesting. Interesting. Very interesting. Thank you for explaining that, brother. Let's continue with your story. So you said that two things happened, and this led to a point where you realized that something needed to change. And what was next then?
Yeah, so basically when I was sharing with my partner at that time, she brought up this topic of narcissism. She said, did you realize that some of the things that you're doing can be related to this kind of behavior? And I went like, okay, yes, I've heard about it, but I don't really know what it is. So I started reading a little bit about it. And then I could recognize, like as from the book, I was doing all the things that related to this kind of behavior. And the moment that everything started shifting was particularly one moment in time when I saw her crying after yeah, maybe other 15 times in the past that she was crying. She was crying again in front of me, and I felt deep pain. I was in a hole in my life, like basically in my work, I was not doing good. I didn't have money. I was just very bad, like with her, like in this toxic dynamic in the relationship. And for the first time, because in previous occasions, I will have just basically postponed these decisions in my mind. But in this moment, I took a different decision and was from a place of love. And I could sense that just to not harm anybody else again, as I was doing with her at that moment. And the moment I took this decision and I committed to that, then everything started shifting because now my decisions would be different. For her, it was very difficult to get away from me, even when I was harming her, mainly emotionally and psychologically as well. It was very hard for her to get away from me because of her own wounds, right? So as a narcissist, you attract people that is wounded as well. And there is some resonance there for us to mirror in each other the particular wounds that needs to be healed. So then she wouldn't be able to get away from me. So I had to take the decision to break up so she could be in a better place, right? I could recognize it was not the best for me, but mainly for her, it was not the best. So then as soon as I took this decision and I committed to stay on my own for a while, then everything started shifting. And it was very beautiful to see how she will start accomplishing different goals. And for me, I will start finding more peace of mind and aligning my thoughts and being able to heal. And here it's also nice, I think, to add and comment that in this situation, whenever you actually commit to change, if you can see a deep pattern in yourself that you are repeating, I think, as from my experience, it is easier for us to do it on our own, because with a partner, it's like you are constantly being triggered by the same dynamic that you always had, right? And if there is one person committed to change, realizing things, and the other person that is wounded as well is not really committed or is not fully embracing the change, then it is very difficult to grow together, let's say, to get out of it. So in some of the cases, as it was for me, it is better to split and then to continue processing like separate. So yes, in this particular moment, everything started changing and I started connecting with a vibration of love towards myself. And I will practice that also with the people around in my environment. And little by little, I will start feeling these shifts in my mind of different realities. And now reality will start having some colors, right? Because my life was pretty flat, was, black and white or grays, I would say. No colors at all. I will feel separated from people. It is very difficult to feel love. So yeah, in that moment, everything started changing. And I think the main things that I kept in my mind were having been an empath towards other people. So keeping this in mind all the time so I can just take myself out of the main character and start observing other people and keeping in mind what can I do to make them feel better, to make their lives greater, let's say. So this was the main idea. And also tapping into love towards myself and others. These two things got me out of the way little by little.
Beautiful. I wanted to just go back on what you said a little bit before, where you spoke about how you needed to create the separation from the partnership to actually begin healing and going into these. And this is something that I really resonate with, and not just for relationships, but for everything in life. I believe it can be a job that's not serving you. It can be with family members. It can be with friends. I just believe that by creating that space, and that's not to say you should always need to create that space. There's also value in working in it, but there comes a point where you know that you need space. Specifically, I'm talking now about relationships, where for me, for a long time in my previous relationship, I knew that space was needed actually to fully heal, to fully grow, to fully process all of these things. And so I just believe when something is not serving you really, and you need to know that taking space from it is an option, a very viable way to actually heal and grow from that experience. It's something that I can relate to throughout my life, really.
Yes, I think as well is the healthiest. Yeah, for sure, for both. And then, yeah, as soon as you take distance, then you can start realigning your thoughts, bringing that energy back to yourself. And then with that, you can heal, you can pursue your own goals. And then if everything aligns and it has to be that way, maybe you will connect with the same person or you will connect with another person, a different teacher that will show you something else to keep on growing on your path. And yes, I think that's the way in most of the cases. I don't think there is only one truth, but yeah, in most of the cases, that's what I see. Yes.
Mm, mm. Okay, let's continue your story. So now you've taken space from your partnership, you're starting to show yourself love and work on these processes using breathwork and other techniques. So, what's the next chapter of the story that gets you to now the position where you're providing this for people?
Yes. So mm, it's nice to remember all the steps, huh? Yeah. So I went through this process 2 years, almost 2 years and a half ago, and it was um, transformational for me as from day one. So you can imagine this big veil came off, and I had to destroy whoever I thought I was to now start building up myself again as from scratch. So it was not easy at all, but I think honesty with myself was one of the pillars that kept me going. And I got really close to these techniques like meditation and breath work, so I could align, I could find silence, I could stop my mind from overthinking. Um, and then I went on doing the same thing and also getting trainings on breathwork for the next 6 months. And then I started traveling. And when I started traveling, I started offering these techniques and I kept on incorporating more of these techniques. Like I went to different meditation trainings and more breathwork trainings online, in person, until one point that I arrived in Sri Lanka last season. And in that season, I actually committed 100% to this and I started providing at a different level. So just making a full time job out of this. So I could, yeah, spend the whole season getting to know people and different cases and coaching people one on one and as well, getting to understand from different perspectives how it feels to heal from these techniques. And it was super fulfilling for me to go through that process. And nowadays, I am way more than before fully committed to this. I understood completely that this wound that I had was giving me the gift, let's say, to pursue with this motivation that I have nowadays, goals that will help not only myself to fully align to my higher self, but also other people out there that maybe being maybe stuck in the same thing or even different things as well, because breathwork can bring up to the surface traumas of all kinds. So it was very nice to see that, and that was a confirmation for me of what I was doing. So yeah, in Australia, because I was living in Australia at that time when everything happened, I I understood something had to change. I committed with myself. I took distance from being in a relationship. I started working on myself. Then I started, now that I could see that, I started building up myself with skills so I can share that with people, because I was not pleasing other people anymore. Now I wanted to please myself. And what myself wanted to do was to learn and dig more into these techniques. So then that's what I did for a year and a half. And then for the last year, I've been sharing at a different level. So that was pretty much the path that I went through.
And now you're here today, standing tall. Amazing.
Yes,
Amazing, brother.
loving it.
I would like to take it back to I would like to take it back to narcissism. So this is the Modern Maze podcast where I like to talk about issues more, let's say, structurally and globally. So now we're talking about a very individual process or a very individual thought process and patterns and woundings. So, as somebody who has a lot of experience with these patterns and tendencies, I am curious as to how you see this manifest itself beyond individuals and how you see it being portrayed worldwide and in systems and in leaders. And yeah, if you notice or pick up on anything that's going on around us.
Yes. So I think we are all narcissists at some extent, and this is already escalating the situation from the individual to the societies, right? Because basically, we're all seeking for attention at certain level, and it is okay if you're seeking for attention, but you are consciously doing it, right? But when it is not conscious and you are now seeking for attention in an unhealthy way, you can harm yourself, you can harm other people around. You are pursuing goals that are not fulfilling your higher self. It's just to prove something to someone or things like that. And we can see this in works environment. We can see that in dynamics of relationships. So this is like everywhere is happening. And yes, I think we have to be consciously doing whatever we're doing in life, so then we can get rid of all these patterns. And also, I think as a society, we can see the dynamics that are happening now with different wars in the world that are pursuing selfish goals that are affecting millions of people. And this is not the best thing to do. We can just quickly put this example of Israel and what is Israel doing at the moment. This is my personal opinion, right? But when you say something, the Arabs would say something to Israel like, hey, you are killing all these people. They go, yeah, but you started doing it first, you know? Or they say like, hey, you are harming this or you are destroying these places. No, we didn't do that. We're not responsible on that. So they are like acting in a narcissistic way, but in a global, uh, let's say, perspective. And yeah, this is harming us all, right? And then people is consuming that and you get confused. You don't know which side you should believe. And this is, dragging energy from all of us. And at one point, I think it's not the healthiest. And yeah, it may take time for us to change, but I think the change will start in each one of us, right? So when you can start recognizing that, maybe you can now see that in other people and you can see that also in the world and how it's happening. So yes, I think the world starts within for each one of us.
Yes, for sure. Just to go back to that Israel example, just so I can understand. So, and you can use a more individual relationship if you want, but I'm curious. So, when you use the example of Palestinians saying you're attacking us, but then Israel saying you attacked us first, and that actually goes back and forth as well. Exactly what is that triggering from a narcissistic point of view? Or yes, what is the process that's happening there?
Well, I will relate it to the idea of no, I'm not doing this. I'm not taking responsibility for this. This is a very, very characteristic behavior on a narcissist person. Like you say, hey, you're doing this, that this is harming me. And they will go like, no, I'm not doing this. This is not true. Or they will go like, yeah, but you started it. So it's your fault, and then they are blaming you for something. And then basically what happens there is that in the case of a one-on-one interaction, then the other person is wounded. So is taking that not to be abandoned. Let's put an example that this person suffered abandonment in the past. So then now she or he is basically receiving that as a truth, just not to be abandoned again for this person. So then basically this person can do whatever he or she wants with the other person that is wounded, right? Because she or he are not able to get away for their own wounds. And yeah, this is, I think, exactly what is happening with Israel. Is like they say something, and Israel is gonna go like, no, we didn't do that, or you started on the first place. So they have no responsibility on it, you know? And this is something that this is a little bit strange. Like there is responsibility in both sides, right? So yeah, that's how I see it.
Mm. Yes, yeah, you can really, as you were explaining that, I can really picture that example with Israel and other conflict zones, and then I was just also seeing that distill right down to the individual level where someone is blaming somebody else or a situation or a thing that's happened to them as well. So yes, I definitely can understand and even relate to that in certain points in my life, and even now it comes up. The blame of someone else or something else. And I think that's interesting because narcissism has there's a weight to it. If you tell somebody that, hey, you're being a narcissist, that carries a lot of, weight. It's not, let's say, a light word. There's a lot of stigma, and people have their opinions of it, and it's viewed very negatively. And so I'm just wondering, when it comes to providing people with tools and techniques to work through these things, how do you word it, or how do people come to you and recognize narcissistic patterns? And do you see a range of people? Sorry, I'm asking like three different questions in one, so I'll ask just one question first. What do you think about the word narcissism? And do you see that as a barrier for somebody acknowledging narcissistic tendencies because of the word that's associated with them?
Yes, for sure. It is an impediment for us to get to know ourselves a little bit better, let's say. So for me, I think it was exactly that you're describing. I will deny it at the back of my head and will not even pay attention to what that word meant, because it was like a stigma. It was a taboo topic, not talking about it. So then it's not in our lives, right? But as soon as we can bring it into light, then we can see if we relate to some of those things. And what happens then is that if you can really relate to some of those things, the best that you can do is to assume that, to recognize that in yourself and start changing. And as soon as you start changing, you will receive so many gifts from life, and life will have a different depth, right? Your relationships will be way better. Your connections with people overall, they improve a lot. And then how you start loving your life and the things that you're doing will start improving a lot. So we have to destigmatize it, is the word. Yes, we have to take it out of that place and just bring it to the light, so then people can see it, can observe it. And if they can recognize that, they can work on that. And they will very quickly see how their life could improve if they can actually assume that they are a part of it. Because again, we are all of us narcissists at one extent, but yeah, as soon as we bring it into light, we can make it work on our favor. So yeah, this is how I'll phrase it.
Mm-hmm. And so now let's take an example person. They have recognized some narcissistic patterns within themselves and they've brought it to the light. What would you recommend some first steps that this person can take after this moment of realization?
Yes. There are some things that on my experience, they were very, very helpful. And then I started investigating a little bit about it. And yeah, it actually makes sense with some of the traditions of Buddhism, some of the teachings of Buddhism, some of the Mainly Buddhism, I would say. The teachings are very clear and they go straight to the point. And what I was doing, it was okay. I will speak from my experience, but that's the advices that I will give to someone else, right? Basically, the first thing that I did was like, okay, I take myself away from the main character, so I stopped paying attention to myself, and I will start now caring for people. And caring for people was the best thing to do to also start building up love towards them, right? So then I will take myself out of the equation because I think, and I will give this example, like when you have a stainless steel bar that is bended to one side and is really, really bended, and you want to put it back straight, then first you have to bend it to the other side. So then you will find the balance, right? Because if you only bring it here to the middle, then it will always come back a little bit to where it was, right? Maybe not exactly to the same point, but a little bit. Then if you want to keep it straight, you have to go to the other side. And this is what I did. I actually disregard myself and I started putting way more love towards others. And this was inevitably building this capacity of loving myself as well. So it was a back and forth situation that I was going through in my mind. But yeah, basically stepping out of the main character, that's the first thing. Then I was training this vibration of love with people. So basically, and this is something that could be very abstract, right, in our minds, but just sitting in front of someone, you can share so many things. You can be judging that person, you can be thinking bad things about that person, but you can also be sharing love and understanding and just these kind of emotions, right? So then this is what I was doing, and I was training myself to do that because I recognized it was difficult for me to be in that place. So I started doing that with people, even when I was interacting in any conversation or situation. Let's say I was just looking at someone and just trying to pour this vibration of pure love. This was an amazing training for me to start training my mind and also tuning that frequency into myself. So stepping out of the main character, training love also was for me very, very important to abstain from sexual interactions with people. This was something that it was a way for me to feel validated in my relationships. So I became addicted to this at one point, right? And I could recognize that because if there was no sex for a couple of days, I would feel frustrated in my relationships or things like that. So this is not the right place where to be in our minds. We should be in a balanced situation where sex is just adding to something greater that you have with this person, right? But for me, it was too important. So then I took it out of the equation. I said to myself, okay, what about if I don't think about sex for whatever, a year, what's going to happen to me? And I realized nothing's going to happen. I mean, I'm still going to be here alive, and next year I can make different decisions if I want. But now it's dragging my attention a lot. So then I wanted the attention from other people, and every interaction that I will have, it will be filtered by all these things because I wanted them to like me. So then I would behave in certain ways that it was not the real me. It was just me behaving behind these filters. So I removed that. I say, okay, I'm not going to pay attention to this. And that actually allowed me to behave in a very different way more liked in every interaction. And I would start understanding who I was actually. So this is also something very beautiful to experience, and also to be an empath, to keep this in mind, to see other people and really fully listen when they are talking, really connecting with their experience. It's like I was trying to understand what will be to live life through their eyes and in their shoes, but really actively doing that, right? So I was not there anymore. I was just living through them, And this is also something very beautiful to experience and to incorporate in our lives, because when we are in that place, like if we say, for example, I'm a happy person and I feel love towards myself and I have all these good experiences, it's okay. You're going to have a beautiful life and you can feel that and you can experience that. And that has a limit, right? That has a roof, and that's your own experience. But if you can really connect with other people and you can really feel the love that they're feeling and you can feel happy for the experiences that are making them happy, then these feelings will grow exponentially in you because now you're feeling love uh, extend, let's say. You're feeling happiness by all of the people that are happy around you, and you're just feeling those emotions in your being. And this is also something very beautiful I started to recognize. And yeah, if that happens, it happens the same with pain, right? Happens actually the same with pain. If someone is going through pain, you empathize with that, and you can also feel that pain. And then it comes to how good you can deal pain with yourself, right? How good are you dealing with pain in your life? So then you can deal with that pain in a way that is not really dragging you down, right? Because for some people, it's really, really bad. But if you know how to handle pain, it's okay. You can also deal with that. So you can be an empathy in both extremes. So yeah, those are the main tools that I will use. Basically, stepping out of the main character, training the vibration of love, abstaining from sexual interactions, and yeah, basically being an empath, just recognizing the emotions of the other person and trying to connect with that, fully listening in a conversation, just not trying to reply anything, but being present and yeah, listening. Those were the main things, the four pillars that I really considered when I was recognizing all this in my life.
Powerful practices, really, very powerful. So, this is for somebody who has recognized that they are having some narcissistic patterns. I just want to take it to another example where, now let's say there's somebody and they maybe they suspect, they have some suspicion that they're in a narcissistic relationship, and it could be with others or with themselves, but they're not sure. Do you have any advice or tools or practices for the person that's more unsure of these patterns and what it means?
Yes, there's even people that they have all of them, but they don't really see it as narcissism, or they don't want to recognize it because this the stigma that we have um, related to this word or things like that. So there could be a full narcissist that don't want to recognize that at that moment. But yeah, basically the main thing that is for both sides. Let's say if you're struggling with narcissism and you don't know or don't know, um, or if you're a person that is in front of a narcissist and you want to know how to deal with your own life in front of that situation, I think the main thing to do is just to start being honest with ourselves and really acknowledging the truth that we can see. And for us to see that truth, I will use these tools that were very helpful for me: meditation, breathwork, journaling, basically inquire why is this happening to me, and what can I do different. It's redirecting the lamps towards yourself. So instead of pointing the person in front of you, this person is doing something, this person is, you know, bringing so much darkness into my life. It's not the other person. The other person is just living its own life. It's you that you are creating that reality. So start observing to yourself and see what you are doing that is not aligned with who you are meant to be, right? So then you start being honest with yourself and you start observing all these patterns that they come from maybe the past or some traumas that are not fully processed, and you start working on those traumas so then you can process that information and you can start deciding in your life which way to go. It's not an easy process because as soon as you start being honest with yourself, you start bringing up a lot of bad things, right? It's not an easy process. But the process, it turns beautiful when you start accepting. The faster we accept, the easier we just flow with life and we allow ourselves to go, right? And then we will start just observing improvement and improvement and improvement. Life turns better and better and better the more we know ourselves. So this is the main thing, to be honest with yourself, because we lie to ourselves for years, right? And we just sometimes remain comfortable in that position, and nothing is going to change if we keep on repeating the same things. But if you really want to change, then you have to commit and you have to do the practices, face your fears and work upon. This is, I think, the main thing to do.
Yes, to view yourself fully and without the filters that we have in our everyday unconscious way, to see reality as it is.
Yeah.
Which you and me can speak to some recent experience in Vipassana with that, but to observe reality as it is and then inquire. I like the word inquire specifically. Have that curiosity, I find, is very important for me when I'm diving deep into a tendency or a pattern or a thought process. It gets quite dark depending on the nature of the thought or how deep it is. But I find for me that having a sense of curiosity and almost play, like lightheartedness, injecting some lightheartedness into it, makes it a little bit easier to navigate and then to enter that flow state that you were talking about, when you can accept and then you can flow with it, is really, I believe, is the only way to move past these tendencies and to continue to grow and evolve, is to see it for what it is.
Yes, very well said, brother. This lightness that we treat ourselves with in our minds is crucial, because that inner voice that you have in your mind has to be your friend, right? You want to have a safe space in your mind. So then basically, as soon as you recognize something that you don't like, in your mind, you said to yourself, okay, yeah, I can see this. It's fine. This is what I am. And this is what I've been doing until now. But now I can make different decisions. And that's the beauty of life. Now I can become something different, something greater, right? So it is acknowledging that with patience, with lightness, and then treating yourself in a kind way, but also being demanding, knowing that you can do better. This is this inner dialogue that we have, this little voice that is always talking to us. We have to shape that in a way that is encouraging us to do better, but is also supporting us no matter what, right? So yes, this is something I really agree with that.
Mm-hmm. I would like to jump back to breathwork for a moment. So when you began discovering breathwork, did you face any resistance or fear or difficulties in the practice and deepening that practice? And if you did, what helped you move through these moments of difficulty?
Okay. Breathwork itself, I actually didn't find any fear beforehand. I was literally digging deep into myself and trying to find tools to understand myself better. So I was going for it, and it was a beautiful process. It took effort from me, but I was enjoying it the whole time. I didn't feel fear at that time to go and face things and unlock different things in myself. Some of the experiences with conscious connected breathing particularly, they triggered some resistance for sure. And I think mainly the resistance was regarding what other people was doing in the room, right? Or what I was accomplishing with it or not accomplishing, actually. So I would think during the experience, this person is crying, why I'm not getting there, what I'm doing wrong, and start judging myself. And this resistance I experienced, but this is something that we all go through in these experiences when we don't know what are we doing. We start trying to understand ourselves and the experience and the technique itself. So it is very normal and natural for us to go into that way. And I really like mentioning this to people beforehand when we do a session. So then they are treating themselves internally a little better and softer, so then they can go through it. That experience sometimes when it's a group experience and someone is crying, you may feel fear. Someone is screaming, you may feel fear, and you may feel threatened by the environment. For some people, it's okay. We can handle it. We can go along with that. But for some other people, it's better to go on a one-on-one session. So then they are not being triggered by the environment in that way. So it really depends on each one of us. For me, there was, I would say, no fear as such, but there was resistance, yes, as I didn't understood the techniques properly at the beginning, and the more I was understanding them, the deeper I could go with them. So for some people, the first session will be amazing, and it will have so much for them to process for the next weeks, even months. But so for some people, the first practices are very, very shallow, and they can barely start noticing how to understand the breath, and getting to understand the technique itself. There is more resistance there, and some other humans are really, really ready to go for it, and they unlock things that have been stored in their minds for decades, right? And it's this one first session that they go, and it's like boom, okay, now I can see completely different. They get a different perspective of the whole thing. It's crazy to witness. So beautiful.
That would be a beautiful experience to share that and to witness people go on that journey, especially for the first time, just straight into it. So things like Conscious Connected, things like other breathwork workshops and classes is a way to access breathwork for people. And I'm curious for the everyday experience of somebody, somebody who's going to work, has family commitments, everything. So maybe getting out to breathwork sessions is a little bit tough for them right now. Are there any techniques or practices that somebody could do daily, and it can be a bigger time commitment or even a smaller time commitment, that somebody could integrate into a daily practice for them to do daily?
Yes, there are a few. That's the beauty of breathwork, actually, that it can take 15 seconds for you to come back to center if you are already in a good place with your nervous system. So it has a big impact in our lives, even with short periods of time. So I could mention a few techniques. Actually, some of them, it depends on what you want to do throughout the day. If you want to build up some energy, or if you want to just find balance and center, or if you want to relax and unwind, there are different techniques. I could mention one of each, so then you can have an idea. So in the mornings, I really like, because of the way I wake up maybe sometimes feeling lethargic, or with lack of motivation. So I would like to build up some energy. For me, the best thing in the morning was actually in that moment that I was really struggling and I felt really a lot of lack of motivation. Then the first thing in the morning would be for me to take a cold shower. Cold showers are amazing because they release dopamine, they release also adrenaline and noradrenaline, and this is boosting you up for some period of time. So cold plunges do the same, but for extended periods of time. They are beautiful as well, and they have a lot of benefits for the immune system. But they are also building up this sense of happiness, right? Like fulfillment, and it is good. It is good to start the day with that. So I will do a cold shower for just a couple of minutes, and then I will sit and do some breath work. And the breathing technique that I will do is quite simple. So placing the feet close beside the body, and then the elbows are parallel to the body. And then in here, you want to, through your nose, inhale while lifting your arms and opening your hands. And I don't know if you can see me here in the screen, but it's like arms fully extended. And then you go down. And when you go down, you close your fists, also exhaling through the nose. And you allow your arms to fall next to your body. So the technique, I'll show it to you for a couple of rounds, will be something like this. This is called Bastrika, and we want to do that for 20 rounds. and you will start feeling some tingling sensations. You will start feeling the energy moving through your body. It's completely normal, completely fine. You may also feel some dizziness a little bit. When you inhale, let's say 90%, you are filling up with some air your lungs. You don't really want to boost yourself 110%. There is no need for that. And when you exhale, it's just a letting go, right? So you just allow your arms to fall. You don't really push. You actually allow them to fall. And this is building up some energy. So you do 20 and you stop and you rest, close your eyes, observe the sensations. And then you go for a second round, and you can do a third round, and you can just go for it and understand how your body reacts to it. This is going to build up some energy. So it's like washing your face in the morning, and then now you are completely awake and having more energy to face the day. This is a beautiful practice to do when you start your days. This is something I'm going to be posting soon, so then after we can share this with people, so then they know exactly how to do the technique. But this is mainly the idea. Then we have this second technique. I would say it is the one that I practice the most during the days, because it's so easy, so simple, and so powerful. And you can practice it every day, like in every moment of your day. You can practice it at work. You can practice it while driving. You can practice it before going to bed, anytime in the day. So this is basically to align ourselves, to go back into center, to stop the mind for a while. Because when we are on our days, the mind goes, right? And it goes, and it's always going. It never stops. So for us to make it, like for us to stop it, what we have to do is just actually to give it a task, right? We want to give it a task. So then we are distracting it. We are giving it something to do. Otherwise, it takes over and it just goes over like many different thoughts. So this practice is called functional breathing, and it is the simplest that you can imagine. Basically, it's just acknowledging these three different areas of the breath in our bodies, these three different parts of the breath in our body. So we're going to breathe in through the nose, and we're going to bring energy to the belly, to the area here in the belly. So you breathe in through the nose, bring the air into the belly, and then you bring some air into the rib cage, understanding the second section, the second area of the breath, and then still on the same breath, right? You breathe in and fill up the chest. So then you exhale out and let go, also through the nose. Then you breathe in again and you do belly, rib cage, and chest, and exhale and let go. They said that the perfect breath is 5 seconds in, 5 seconds out. So we aim for that, but we don't really have to reach 5 seconds. You just count to 5, whatever 5 means to you. Some other people describe this technique as heart coherence. Don't really focusing on the 3 areas, but just basically counting 5. So this is a mix of these two, right? We want to inhale through the nose, filling up the belly, the rib cage, the chest, and exhale and let go. And if you do this a couple of rounds, just 2-3 rounds, you will start feeling already some relaxation. Your mind stops for a little bit. It gives you the opportunity to rest in your body. You activate your parasympathetic nervous system. Then you start finding the softness in your body and in your mind. Yes, and this is something we can practice throughout the day. For me, the example that I like giving is, okay, I'm now riding the scooter here in Sri Lanka. In Sri Lanka, the drivers are crazy. They just go crazy, right?
Especially the buses.
The buses, they go 100 kilometers an hour in roads like this. You don't even understand how they can manage. It's a proper skill that they develop, and it's okay. That's how it works in here, right? So then for me, it's like, okay, I go in my scooter, and sometimes you go like super stressed, they're super tense. And when you check in, you realize you're barely breathing. If you're breathing very shallow, and in your chest it's like short breaths, and you're super, super scared and stressed with the whole situation. That is not the best scenario, right? We don't want to be in that space. That's even dangerous and tricky. So then as soon as I recognize this, I go, okay, now I relax a little bit, and now I breathe down into my belly, rib cage, my chest, and exhale out. And I do 2, and I do 3 rounds. And when I do the third round, I'm already settled in my scooter, way more relaxed. And I feel the breeze just here in my skin. And now I'm paying attention more to the landscapes, not that much as the buses and tuk-tuk drivers. It's way different. The experience becomes way better for you. So this is just one particular moment. I work as a barista. I used to work as a barista. So as a barista, you have a lot of input from the environment as well. Is your colleague telling you something and another person here wanting something from you, and then the customer is coming with something that you need to do for them, and then the supervisor is just screaming something to you. And you have like 10 dockets to work on, and you're like, okay, this is also stressful, right? That if in that moment you take 2 breaths in and out, consciously breathing, then it's crazy because the world stops and you go, okay, now I'm in my center. And then this is still happening, but I can manage that with a different, in a different way. So you can respond to that the best way possible instead of reacting. Because these reactions are what we want to control, right? These fiery reactions that we may have, for me, that's the tendency. So I get angry, so then I react in the wrong way. But if I'm controlling my emotions with my breath, I can just respond in the way that I choose to respond. So yeah, this is the second technique. Very beautiful. Also nice to go to sleep. And yeah, this is amazing to go to sleep. So yeah, functional breathing. Then we mentioned Bastika to build up energy. And then the third one that I will describe is a very, very famous technique from the yogic philosophy, it's a pranayama. It's called Nadi Sodhana. Nadi Sodhana is alternating nostril breathing. So placing 2 fingers in between our eyebrows. We're going to use the thumb to close our right nostril. We're going to use the ring finger to close our left nostril. And we're going to breathe alternately through both of them. So you start by breathing. Let's do it together. First, we exhale the air from the lungs. Now we inhale through both nostrils, blocking the right nostril, exhaling through the left. We count till 4, and then we inhale left. 2, 3, 4, closing left, exhaling right. 2, 3, 4, inhaling right. 2, 3, 4, closing right, inhale, exhaling left. 2, 3, 4, inhaling left. 2, 3, 4, closing left, exhaling right. 2, 3, 4, inhale right. 2, 3, 4, exhale left. 2, 3, 4. Inhale left. Exhale right. Inhale right. Exhale left. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale left. Inhale. Exhale right. Last one. Inhale right. Exhale left. Now you can rest your hands on top of your lap. You observe the sensations for just some seconds in here. When you're ready, you can blink your eyes open once again.
The power of the breath. Wow.
Yes. 1 minute, right? It's only a minute.
Amazing.
You don't need
Really.
hours of practice. This is so beautiful.
Even the 2 breaths, your second technique that you were talking about, I did two breaths with the 3-part breathing instantly. I think for me, I've been really diving into yoga and meditation, so I neglect breath work, actually. But every time I do it, I get reminded that this is something I need to continue incorporating. So thank you for sharing. And yes, it was very nice to experience that again with you.
Amazing. Let me add one more thing to that. So
Yes,
when
for
we
sure.
practice these things, is that with functional breathing, we want to, if we really want to put attention into it, breathwork has the ability, let's say, to control our emotionality. So we don't really know us from scratch, let's say, when nobody is teaching us this when we're growing up. But basically, our emotions and our breath are really interlinked, right? So then, whenever you feel angry, you will start now breathing in a different way. You're going to start hyperventilating, right? You are preparing yourself to fight. So then you are activating your sympathetic nervous system, and you are now ready to, you're now pumping a lot of blood into your system. You know, your muscles are now, you're feeling stronger, and this is stressing your system. It is okay if you are in front of a threat and you want to fight that. But if we live in that state, it's very, very bad for our system. We cannot regenerate cells, and it is bad extended in a long period of time. So we want to get out of it. For us to control our emotions, we can also use the breath. So the opposite is true as well. Let's say, so our emotions tends to control the way we breathe, but if we control the way we breathe, we can also control our emotions. So if you feel now you are getting angry and you don't want to be there, you can recognize anger is coming for something something that happened. And I'm not saying to feel angry is bad, right? I think it's an amazing feeling that we all have to experience that in a healthy way, right? We have to release that. But if in that moment we don't want to connect with that emotion, or we want to tap into something different, we are about to go to sleep and it's not the time to feel angry. You know, we can leave that for tomorrow, and tomorrow we work with that in a different way. But now we want to sleep. So if you want to sleep, you can do one of these techniques and you tap out of that emotion and you tap into something different, a more relaxing state of mind. So this is the power of the breath. It's basically allowing us to regulate our nervous system the way we like it. And then if we are in front of a threat and we freeze, because this is some of the other reactions that we may have. We freeze because that's let's say, the normal thing for us to do is just to freeze for some of us. Some of others will tap into fight, so then they will activate the sympathetic nervous system. But if we freeze and we want to activate our sympathetic nervous system, we can now actually start hyperventilating, right? So then our system will get boosted, and this is something that we can manage. And what I wanted to mention is that with this consciously way of breathing, if we do functional breathing every day, it is not the goal to keep an eye on it through the entire day, because it is impossible. I mean, so far, I think it's impossible. Maybe we can do that, but not in the way that we are living nowadays. I think it's very, very tricky to keep an eye on the breath all the time. So what we want to do, in my opinion, is that basically, and this is not something that is only my opinion, it's been written in different books, and I received this from my teachers. So we want to train our bodies, which is the right way of breathing. So if you lay down and do functional breathing every single day for 5 minutes, and you can do this twice a day or 3 times a day. If you keep on doing that over and over, then your body, your system will start understanding that that's the right place where to be, and will start taking it as reality. So then during the days, you will recognize that you are breathing that way without even paying attention to it, because now you're getting used to that new state of mind and body. So then this is the normal. That's what we want to do, to train it so it becomes normal, not to pay attention through the day, the entire day, because that's pretty much impossible.
Yes, yes. Even in yoga, there's a technique. It's called the crocodile pose, where I don't know if you've done this before, but you lie on your stomach and you elevate your head using your hands, using your arms, sorry, and you can feel your belly breath on the mat. So you can feel your belly press against the mat when you breathe. And actually practicing that every day has been shown to train your body to belly breathe. So this is a real thing, that we can train our bodies to autonomously breathe the way that we're supposed to breathe, because you're very right. We're not meant to be in such a shallow breath. And because we're always in a shallow breath, we're always stressed. Of course, there's a reason we're stressed, is the modern lifestyle and everything, and that there is a direct reflection on our breath. And I find that so beautiful, that the breath can be such a amazing indicator for how we're feeling. Because every time I feel angry or stressed, my breath is shallow. That it's never the opposite. They're always related. So it's such a beautiful way to look at it, and really nice practical advice that you've given for people to tap into that with a daily practice. So thank you for sharing, brother.
My pleasure.
And so now, for people who want to find you and perhaps attend something that you will be conducting in the future, whether it be workshops or online offerings, this is your chance to advertise, market yourself, stand on top of the mountain and yell all the amazing things that you're doing. And yes, please tell the people where to find you, how to contact you, all of that good information.
Okay, thank you for that opportunity, that space. Well, for now, this season, I will probably do some one-on-ones, like in-person practices I will provide in Sri Lanka and in Australia. These are my goals for this season. Australia is still something that I'm wondering, but Sri Lanka for sure, I'm going to be here for a few months. And yes, this is the things that I'm doing in person. But then I'm working nowadays, actually, in these few months ahead, I'm going to focus into developing more and more my online platforms. So then it's Instagram, the main platform that I'm using, and we can leave it there for the people. I have my personal Instagram that is in Spanish, mainly in Spanish, because that's my main language. So for people that are native in Spanish, they can just follow that along. And then if you're an English speaker, then Conscious Connected is the brand that I created last year. And I am now putting, all the information in there. Conscious Connected, I name it like that, is the same name of the practice. That's, for me, is the most transformational so far that I experienced. And it is also that the name because some of the things that I post in that platform are related to narcissism. And as soon as I started recognizing these patterns in my life and I committed to change, basically I started feeling way more connected to myself and the environment, and way more. So yeah, I became conscious of my patterns. I started paying attention to it, and I started connecting more with myself and others. That's why is the name Conscious Connected. And yeah, basically in that, I will start putting some more free tools for people so then they can follow along and get to understand these techniques more in depth, and also sharing some words of wisdom, just different realizations that I go through in my days, and I just put them out there. So then, just a guideline of the process that I'm going through, still healing from it, right? So still different layers unfolding, and yeah, I'm just documenting in there and putting tools for whoever wants to, yeah, proceed in their healing journey.
Hmm. I will leave all of the relevant links in the show notes for people to go click through. And just to clarify, when you say the season, which months in particular are the season in Sri Lanka?
Yes, Sri Lankan season will start in November. So in South Sri Lanka, November till February, I would say. I would like to commit to be here, but still not 100% sure. But that's the plan so far. Yeah,
Yes, life is ever fluid and ever changing, which is beautiful. Um, Nico,
exactly.
thank you so much for jumping on the podcast and giving us your time, your expertise, your knowledge, your wisdom, and all of your learnings across your life. I thoroughly enjoyed listening to you. I learned a lot of new things. So, this conversation has been very insightful, a very helpful reminder for me to return to my breath. So, that is something that I will personally take away from this episode. And it's very beautiful to continue sharing with you, brother. And I cannot wait to continue our journey in whatever form that may be. So, thank you again, brother. And yes, I very much appreciate you joining us today.
Thank you, brother. Thank you, and thank you to everyone watching out there. I hope everything is something is helpful and resonate with you all. And brother, I'm also super happy to see you and what you're doing. I enjoyed a lot this conversation as well. Wishing you the best for the Modern Maze. I wish you will smash it with so many nice guests and conversations as we just had.
Thank you, brother. Thank you. Okay, thank you everybody for joining us. We wish you a very beautiful day, and I will catch you on the next episode. Namaste.